when you look at a problem like M.1.7, the strategy that you want to keep in mind here when you see something that looks like this, f of x and g of x, is to recognize how to substitute with function notation. This is our strategy that we're going to use to solve this problem, substituting with function notation. And what that means is that whatever's inside the parentheses, say here, g of 6, and here f of negative 5, that means we're just going to substitute this number 6 into the function g of x anytime we see the letter x. And in this particular situation under here, for f of negative 5, we're going to substitute this negative 5 every time we see x in the function f of x. So let's start with the top of g of 6, which means I'm going to start looking at this function over here, g of x. And so I'm going to plug in that 6, and I'm going to see 2 to the 6th minus 4. When I simplify this, this becomes 64. So this becomes 64 minus 4 is equal to 60. So let's keep this in mind. G of 6 is 60. And I'm just going to leave this note here so I can come back to it later. F of negative 5 means I'm going to plug in this negative 5 every time I see x. So the function f of x is going to be 4 times x squared. So I'm going to take 4 times negative 5 squared minus 5 times negative 5. And then I'm going to subtract 5 because this is what f of x is. So f of negative 5 gives me this. I'm going to simplify this, and what that gives me is going to be 4 times 25. This is going to be a plus because this is two negatives, plus 25 minus 5. And that is going to simplify to 120. And so 120 is f of negative 5. And now all I have to do is go back to this original equation and just divide g of 6, which was 60, divided by f of negative 5, which was 120. So that's going to give me 60 divided by 120, which is going to simplify to 1/2. If you weren't sure how to simplify that fraction, just turn it into a decimal. You would have seen that the decimal would have given you 0.5, and then just recognize that only one of these answer choices is equal to 0.5. You could just plug them into your calculator if you're not sure, but 1 divided by 2 does give you 0.5, so our answer is going to be 1/2.